For as long as there have been action films and, more importantly, action film stars, one trope that is completely timeless as well as incredibly badass is the classic hero with the big iron on his hip. And if you want that trope on full display with even more presence, then the gunner and his trusty Bulldog have you covered. The gunner's arsenal is very simple but also incredibly fun and effective. He's got everything from high-explosive rocket launchers to bullet-spewing miniguns. While a lot of the focus is given to his primaries, his secondaries often go unappreciated. To me, this is a criminal offense, and his secondaries are so much more than just sidekicks to his primary powerhouses. None more apparent than his starter secondary, the Bulldog Heavy Revolver. So then if you guys are ready, let's talk about the Bulldog and the kinds of stats and overclocks it has access to see if it's the secondary weapon to add to your build. By the way, if you want to see more weapon videos or just videos in general, be sure to like and subscribe to never miss another upload.
Just show me what I shoot!
The Bulldog is certainly a weapon that on the surface seems to be very bland and simple. While simple is certainly something that fits the weapon, it is far from bland. It's the gunner's default secondary weapon, so you don't have to wait any time to use it at all. It deals an incredibly high amount of damage and has a really high stun chance. There really aren't too many crazy things to keep in mind when using the Bulldog, as it simply fires big bullets that do big damage. It has a decent amount of spread when spamming the trigger that you can account for with mods, so you don't want to spam this thing too much when trying to hit farther targets. It has several mods like blow-through rounds, explosive rounds, or neurotoxin coating that can help significantly increase its damage output and apply secondary effects to enemies. And it can combo incredibly well with any of the primaries that the gunner has access to. Other than that, it is a very easy weapon to understand, and its overclocks only elevate its combat power. With that in mind, now it's time to talk about the Bulldog and its overclocks. As of Season 4, the Bulldog has 6 overclocks, with only 1 clean, 3 balanced, and 2 unstable. Next, as always, we'll go through each of them and talk about what they do and the kinds of ways that you can utilize them. So with that, let's start with the clean overclocks, and the first one on the list is Chain Hit. The description reads, any shot that hits a weak spot has a chance to ricochet into a nearby enemy. So that's very sweet and simple, and somehow we actually got a clean overclock that does not affect ammo in any way, unlike literally every other weapon in the game. In any event, this overclock gives the Bulldog the ability to potentially bounce its shots when hitting an enemy weak point. To be specific, hitting a weak spot has a 75% chance to bounce and hit the next closest enemy unit, dealing full damage to that second target. Keep in mind that it can't bounce multiple times, so you're only going to be able to get 1 ricochet out of it. So this one is kind of fun to use, even though it's not super impactful outside of clearing swarms a little bit faster. Essentially, it can sometimes let you hit 2 bugs for the price of 1. This could apply effects such as the neurotoxin coating or explosive rounds that we talked about earlier, so you can get some more value out of those particular mods, which can make it quite useful. Thanks to it being a clean overclock and having no drawback whatsoever, it can actually be pretty fun to just trick shot the bugs. Ultimately, this is a very fun one to run and can make you feel really good when you get those successful chain hits off. Moving on immediately to the balanced overclocks, first we have the Homebrew Powder. This one reads very short and simple as well, with more damage on average, but it's a bit inconsistent. So this one is an interesting option as it gives you a weird damage buff that can sometimes be big or small. Going through the numbers, it makes it so that way each shot has a randomized chance to increase damage from 75% to 200% bonus damage per bullet. So this one is kind of an interesting option to run for increasing damage, since it's kind of like rolling the dice for exactly how much you will get in terms of damage bonus. Sometimes you can one-shot something, and other times it's hardly noticeable damage increase. If you try to hit something like a Dreadnought, then it might be a little bit more noticeable, since you will see the many different chunks of health being taken off of the health bar at different stages. While a relatively simple overclock to use, it can give you some really good damage increase if you're lucky, and can be an interesting choice if you do want to bring it. Ultimately, for me personally, it's a little bit too inconsistent for me to justify bringing it often, but it can still be fun to use regardless. The next balanced overclock we have is Volatile Bullets. This one reads, fuel on the fire. These rounds are extremely effective against burning targets, but at the cost of direct damage to unaffected creatures. So this one rewards you for leading into elemental builds or assisting your allies in their elemental build. Going through the numbers, it gives you a 300% damage increase when hitting any burning target. To compensate, it gives the weapon -10 to its base damage output. So this is kind of tricky to use because you need some sort of consistent way to apply burning effects to enemies. Now the gunner does have his trusty incendiary grenades to help with this, and you could run things like Burning Hell on the Leadstorm to apply more burning effects. If those factors are in play, or you just stay close to your driller friend running a pure flame build and capitalize on all of his burning glory, then this thing can get some pretty good damage on already suffering enemies. This can make bigger enemies fall a lot easier, since not only are you doing more damage, but they are also being applied by damage over time effects, so it will severely hurt them a lot. Essentially, if you just want to channel your inner driller and burn everything around you, then this will be the perfect accessory to that. The last balanced overclock option we have is 6-shooter. This one reads, an updated casing profile lets you squeeze 2 more rounds into the cylinder and take a few more rounds with you. But all that filling and drilling has compromised the accuracy of the weapon, and it takes longer to reload. So this one is my personal go-to when running the Bulldog, since it gives you a lot of good benefits without too many drawbacks. Going over the stats, it gives +2 to the magazine size, +6 to the max ammo reserves, and +2 to the rate of fire stat. All of this is countered by an increase in the reload speed by 0.5 seconds, and an increase to the weapon spread by 50%. So this overclock, as the name implies, turns the weapon into an actual 6-shooter and gives you more shots to use. I like this one a lot because it makes the gun more consistent and ammo friendly. That being said, it doesn't really do anything super crazy like chain hit or volatile bullets, and just makes the gun handle a lot better. It's a good general purpose option to use if you just want the overall effectiveness of the Bulldog to increase, but don't want to do any sort of crazy style effect that you need to manage or keep in mind. Essentially, if you want this thing to become an actual 6-shooter and an actual big iron on his hip, then it's the perfect choice. Now it's time to go over the unstable overclocks, and the first one we have is elephant rounds. The description reads, heavy tweaking has made it possible to use modified autocannon rounds in the revolver. The damage is crazy, but so is the recoil, and you can't carry as many rounds. Also, only 3 rounds fit in the gun, and reload time is a bit slower, but base accuracy is improved. So this overclock pushes the weapon even further into the big bullets that do big damage style by giving you significantly more damage at the cost of way less control and ammo. To be specific, it increases your damage by 60 and improves your base spread by 50%. To compensate for this, it gives you -12 to your maximum ammo reserves, -1 to your magazine size, increases your reload speed by 0.5 seconds, increases your recoil by 150%, and increases your per shot spread by 71%. A very, very specific percentage increase for some reason. So essentially this overclock turns the bullets that the Bulldog fires into insanely high caliber and high impactful shots. Like imagine if you took a normal 9mm gun in reality and adapted it to firing 50 caliber rounds. Each shot does insane amounts of damage at the cost of it kicking like a mule with every single shot. While I don't use this one too much, I do always feel like the weapon is significantly more powerful whenever I do throw it on, and things just seem to delete whenever it hits them. Ultimately, this is for those of you who love to put all of your stat points into strength and just punch through anything that's standing in your way. The other unstable overclock option is the magic bullets. The description reads, smaller, bouncier bullets ricochet off hard surfaces, hitting nearby enemies like magic. Overall, the damage of the weapon is reduced, but you can carry a few more rounds due to their compact size. So this one functions almost like the inverse to the chain hit that we talked about in the beginning, where instead of bouncing off of enemies, you bounce off of the terrain. Going over the numbers, it gives you the magic bullets buff as well as +8 to your maximum ammo reserves. This is countered by -20 to your direct damage. So to explain how the magic bullets work, essentially whenever a bullet hits the terrain, it ricochets to the closest nearby enemy, essentially making it the opposite of chain hit. This can also make it essentially impossible to miss enemies unless you hit a spot on the terrain that is really, really far away from any enemy. This could be a fun one to use, especially if you're someone like me who isn't super confident in their aim. This can help you hit those targets and keep constant damage up even in tense situations. Literally, you don't even need to necessarily hit any of the bugs in the actual swarm. If you just fire into the terrain or into the crowd, chances are you're going to hit something. That being said, the big decrease in damage can be a bit hindering and can make the weapon feel rather weak in some regards. In essence, use this one for fancy tricks or to help break up swarms, but it can be a bit weird to use and I wouldn't recommend using it at the very beginning if you get it early on. The Bulldog is a very fun weapon to use, and its overclocks can be pretty simple, effective, and in some cases extremely unique. From bouncing bullets to burning bullets to just really, really big bullets, the Bulldog has a lot of its bases covered, and essentially it's one of the perfect secondary weapons that can fit into just about any gunner build. If you want to see another specific secondary weapon covered, let me know down in the comments, or perhaps I've already covered it, so be sure to check out the playlist. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. If you found this video helpful, let me know by hitting those like and subscribe buttons as it tells me what types of videos you guys want to see. Rock and Stone Miners, I'll see you in the next video.